From the United States, at the heart of global retail intelligence, comes a voice that cuts through the AI noise. Sucharita Kodali, VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester, one of the most influential research firms in the world, is a trusted authority shaping how leading retailers think about technology, data, and the future of commerce. She helps executives separate hype from real impact, revealing where AI truly creates value and where human judgment still leads.
No agent yet is able to build you a house. There's a lot that is required. We're not there yet. I have the easier job. AI has been in retail for decades. AI is not new. And to trust that the system isn't going to create a problem for your company. An airport in the United States, you could theoretically walk through an airport and image recognition will know exactly where everyone is and who they are, but yet, we still have to go through, kind of a human being looking at everything and taking your ID, and you have to go through a security. They are not ready for it to be a fully agentic solution.
I am Santiago Naranjo, passionate about business and Chief Revenue Officer at Vitex. In this podcast, we talk about what is truly changing the game and the strategy behind global transformation.
The technology is there, but...
Sucharita, people know you as one of the most respected voices in retail, but I would love to start by getting to know you a little bit more as a person. Who is this professional behind the VP of a Principal Analyst?
Thank you for the kind words. I've been an analyst now for almost 20 years. And before that, I was in the retail world as a practitioner. So worked at different kinds of retailers, big box retailers, small retailers, brand manufacturers, startups, all in retail. And so that is essentially how I got to be a retail analyst. And I've always been interested in business, even from a young age. So I guess that's what led me there.
Retail is so particular because you are able to face challenges in logistics, brand, financial, technology. I am also from retail, like more than 10 years. And I love the people that are around retail because you have the majority of the problems and less of the resources. And then you need to have and pursue like creativity. Why you take the challenge to move from retail to analyst? How that arrived to you? Why do you decide to make this change?
Well, I think that I have the easier job. I can it's always easier to tell people what they could be doing or should be doing. It's a lot easier to, be calling the shots from the sidelines than it is to be the people who are actually executing. Someday in the future, maybe I'll go back to it. It suits me very well. It's a really flexible job, and I get to learn every day. So that's what I like about the work. The downside is I just tell people, kind of my thoughts and share research. You don't actually get your hands dirty and do the work that may lead to change.
But I think you became one of the more respected analysts, but also because you have the expertise. And when you talk, when you share your knowledge, it's not just theoretical. You were there, you were in retail, you know what you are talking. So it's good. And I embrace all the analysts that please hire people from the industry that they know what they are talking about. So we can not start to talk about AI. Artificial intelligence arrived in any topic. You will see artificial intelligence. I love it because it's like when our internet arrived. It's just so foundational that everybody is talking about, but nobody knows how to digest this. From personal use to security, privacy, creation of NCP, new companies, SaaS, etc. Everything is happening. And sadly, sometimes the people that talk the most and then saying what should be done. So this is why I'm trying to be here with a respected person that have all these details. So I want to know if you have at this moment any big cases on AI, any big uses that start to get excited about the use of AI in retail, or any specific case that you are starting to see that could be a potential for AI on retail?
So I think that AI has been in retail for decades. AI is not new, and it has been used for many, many years. And most large retailers already have retail planning systems or pricing algorithms or labor planning modules or warehouse management optimization solutions, which all rely on machine learning and in some cases even deep learning to execute what they execute. One of probably the oldest use cases, even within neural networks, is fraud detection. So I think that there are already many, many proven use cases of AI in retail. Are there new solutions? And I think that may be the heart of your question is there anything that is related to these new terms like generative AI or agentic AI, which are being proven? And with generative AI, there are some applications that are relatively mainstream now, whether it's content creation or workforce automation. I mean, you see companies, in retail, they may take a vendor data sheet and be able to use generative to populate a content management system for an e-commerce platform. That's a very common use case. Kind of chatbots now seemingly are ubiquitous, and smarter generative AI driven chatbots. So there's definitely some use cases. Are they transformational? I think that they're incremental and I think that they're valuable, but I don't think that they single-handedly are going to turn anybody's business around. And as far as agentic is still new, and there are a lot of issues with being able to, when you look at the definition of agentic, it has a very specific definition. It's, it's a goal-based approach where a system can act autonomously across many different touch points. And the example I always use is a driverless car is an agentic AI solution. What is the equivalent in retail? There may not be a lot that have been built out. Amazon's merchandising solution is probably the closest to a truly agentic AI solution where they have a goal for selling a certain amount of inventory and then, kind of the system makes decisions on its own. But it's okay if we're not there quite at agentic and everything, because there's a lot of value even with automation. And I think that we're going to be taking steps probably over the next 5 to 10 years to get closer to more agentic solutions. But even as we are able to automate, we'll see lots of gains. And, the companies that do embrace it should hopefully see improvements in their processes. So, Santi, that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but
it's very powerful. Why I love it, because I think we are not just in the peak of the wave of AI or generative AI, but we are starting to see incremental improvements on some ways that the technology start to use data to structure or generate some type of operations.
yeah.
Personally, I am a builder by heart, so my passion is to build open source on my weekends. And we build together for example, the support of BTX. We used to have like 300 people across the world, and now we were able to centralize in a chatbot that have some capability. We are not the one. I think majority of the players in SaaS are doing the same. And we have good things and also some trade-offs. The good things always is to be able to centralize, to have clear data points, to act, to improve the product or to improve the documentations. Trade-off is always the companies or the brands want to speak with a human.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes technology can be more precise technically on what they should do, what they should not do, the buyers, procurement, want to have at least a human interaction. What is your point of view on what will be the moment that, or is going to be the moment, yes or no, that the brands will accept a total agentic software, that they will accept an ERP that they will not talk with an account manager, or an e-commerce solution, or a PIM that will exist or not? Or we are going to need to have this agentic solution for maybe 1-2 decades. Then we are going to have a generational transformation that can adapt on this new way to operate. Because this question is a mix of generational change and technology. How do you see this process?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that, you call out the single biggest obstacle, which is trust and being able to trust the system and to trust that the system isn't going to create a problem for your company or drive your company out of business. So I do think that where you'll start to see more of the trust is in some of the lower risk scenarios. So, kind of if there's the ability, marketing is an area that's relatively lower risk than some of the other parts of retail. And, kind of if it's like you have a daily budget and you want to let the agent decide how it's going to allocate that budget across like these 4 specific channel partners, that's a relatively low risk thing. So I think that we'll see it there. I think that in terms of buying inventory, it may be a little bit different. And even, the Amazon example, Amazon has an agentic merchandising solution, which is very different than what most retailers can do. It is a marketplace. And, kind of essentially all they're doing is the agent basically prices things for an endless aisle. Most retailers don't have that luxury of, kind of purchasing everything, right? An agentic solution for most traditional retailers would involve a trade-off of some sort. And it involves a trade-off of what are you not going to buy in the limited shelf space that you have. That's actually a much, much tougher decision than what Amazon has to make. So so where there's less risk, I think we'll see it happening. Where there's more risk, I think that we are going to just require more information and more, kind of things that holds, I think, any agentic solution. Because right now, I think the agentic solutions that have been built have been shown, they've gotten better and better. But for the most part, they can take discrete tasks that normally a human would take about an hour to do in software. Agentic is pretty good at doing. If you extend beyond an hour, usually there are different systems and different decision trees, and it makes it much, much harder. There's a reason that no agent yet is able to build you a house. There's a lot that is required in that we're not there yet. We may be there in, 20 years, maybe even sooner, maybe not. It's going to take time. It's going to take data. It's going to take reinforcement learning where you have enough of a data set that, the agent can learn if this was a good decision in this scenario or a bad decision in that scenario. And if you don't have enough of that data, we may never have an agentic solution. I always use the example of, I'm sure most of the listeners have probably come through an airport in the United States at some point where we have, our TSA, and, they have entirely agentic solutions. You could theoretically walk through an airport and image recognition will know exactly where everyone is and who they are. But yet, we still have to go through, kind of a human being looking at everything and taking your ID, and you have to go through a security, kind of apparatus.
Totally.
So there you go. Like, as a consumer, as a passenger, like I'm there, I'm happy. I would love for it to be a fully agentic solution. They are not ready for it to be a fully agentic solution. And, that's an example of like the technology is there, but the trust in the system isn't yet there.
I love that. I'm fully identified with your point. Something that I'm seeing is that everybody's trying to demonstrate how good the agents are. But nobody is telling us in a very normal or truthful way in what the agents are not good. Because it's like everybody is overselling the agents.
Yeah. It's like crypto.
Exactly. And so I was building an A2A protocol and solutions. Majority of the questions from the clients are like, okay, but what if the agent have a problem or have a mistake? How we are going to know and how we are going to realize that it's not too late? A challenge I'm trying to bring for developers or engineers is, what if we stop overselling the agentic commerce or the agentic area, and we launch some mission-led agents. That sometimes they are going to achieve the mission, but sometimes they are not going to achieve the mission. If you're able to bring trust for a senior like procurement, CMO or CFO to tell you, okay, you are going to have here 10 agents. Some of them are going to achieve the mission and some of them, they will not, and they will let you know. I think trust will be on top because only to have, don't worry about it. Your reconciliation on finance, don't worry, some agent will do it for you. That's just scary and it's not true. But maybe we can have 3, 4, 6 agents that say, look, for this specific task, we will try with these 4 agents to give this specific mission.
Yeah.
If they complete it, they will tell you. If not, they will be the first one to give you that they failed. So I'm trying to go this and above the over hype of agent. And why if we go for a mission-led agent, that it is okay to have 50-50. 50 sometimes they achieve, 50 for times they not. Because we will cannot lose the trust of the AI. I want to see your personal opinion and your personal use of AI. How you use in your daily operation, in your work, in your house, AI. Are you using Siri? I don't know. Alexa, are you using ChatGPT? Which are a top analyst AI stack?
That's always scary. So actually, we are actually not allowed to use a lot of AI at work. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I do think may be holding back some of the generative AI solutions is now so many companies have put restrictions around it that people can only use it on other alternative devices or they can use it for their personal needs and whatnot. I'll tell you, I feel like my children use it more. They seem to use it for anything and everything. It's a good question. I mean, I like to use I don't use Siri and Alexa all that much. I think I've been, kind of habituated to, just be cautious about where you share a lot of super personal information. And even though, I know a lot of people and, people even in my family who have paid for subscriptions to a lot of the generative AI tools, I'm still paranoid about the data that gets into those tools. So I will still always use them in either a logged off form or use somebody else's login and password for that. So I like using, kind of ChatGPT for general questions, Perplexity, anytime I need additional sources that Google may not have unearthed. I like Claude for any type of writing support or creative, kind of thinking of how to phrase things or, kind of idea generation. So those from a Gen AI standpoint are there, but there are a lot of other point solutions. Like, there's a social media generator called Opus Clip, which I like a lot that, kind of you can take in a video and it will, spit out 25 video shorts that you can, kind of pick and choose for like Instagram or TikTok.
Nice.
So they're one. One of my favorites of all time has been Descript, which is actually a podcast tool. And what's really interesting is, you want to talk about hype. The founder of Descript was the guy who started Groupon. And, and I feel like this is actually the more promising one. But Descript is awesome. For years, it had the ability to transcribe content, and it had basically deep faking technology to be able to edit, kind of if you misspoke something at this point in a podcast, it could literally, kind of just take your voice and put in what you may have intended. Of course, there's always risks with, kind of having that misappropriated. But, if it's you doing it for yourself and your own recording, I think that's perfectly fine. And it's essentially like a very, very easy editing tool. So it uses a lot of natural language processing and kind of just different forms of, kind of automation to make things as easy as it could possibly be. So, kind of somebody like me who's, kind of not a podcast editor can actually edit a piece of video content. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the tools that I've used. I think that what it has really done is Gen AI, I think, has empowered individual creators more than anyone. I think that, to your point, trust is still an obstacle for large enterprises, but what that means is that these large enterprises end up facing that innovator's dilemma, and they may very well be disrupted by some small creators that are able to do what they do for cheaper, faster, and better than what large enterprises may just by design take longer to execute.
I love that answer, and I'm very curious about that solution. I promise you I will try it.
Yeah,
Thank you
definitely.
so much for the advice. I will try all of them. I love wrapping up this episode by reminding everyone that this is part of a special series where we sit down with women who are rewriting the rules of business, technology, and digital commerce. Sucharita, to conclude, what practical advice would you give to women leaders and entrepreneurs to boost their careers and businesses in this new era of commerce?
So we talked a lot about trust, and I think that in the era of kind of mistrust, trust still is going to matter more than ever. And what that means is that you have to have genuine relationships with people, and you still need to have relationships, and you need to network, and you need to actually meet humans, like, kind of in my network, kind of respond to random strangers who I've not, kind of either I don't know them, or, kind of they don't know me, but they just reach out to me randomly. There still needs to be an intermediary. Either they will have, I will have needed to have met them directly, or there needs to be an intermediary who I know and I trust that, can broker that introduction. And I don't think that goes away in the next, kind of decade. In fact, I think it becomes more important because, when there are no barriers to connecting with somebody, how in the limited 24 hours a day and 7 days a week that you have, are you going to choose where to spend that time? And it still is going to have to come through somebody, kind of vetting, kind of the opportunities that you have in front of you.
What an amazing and powerful message, because it's very easy for people to try to go in the opposite and obvious direction. Okay, now I can do it alone. I can go into my room. I don't need to engage with anybody. I don't need to create a network. And as you say, as in this moment, trust is even more important than technology, because technology is there, it will be a commodity. But to be able to create a network and to grow is very important. It is a very, very powerful message for everybody that is out there. Thank you so much for sharing your professional insight, also your personal wisdom. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Santi. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.